Well, hello, welcome back to Tale 3 Cabins. If you're thinking about replacing that lead acid battery that came with your RV or boat, or you're looking for a way to extend your power station's power supply, or you need some camping power, this battery is pretty unique because it's not just a plain old two-terminal battery. It's with a large capacity, 100 amp hours. It's got this little hub that comes with it also. And if you see, we got this spot that's recessed in here to plug this hub in. And what it becomes, it almost becomes like a power station. There's a Anderson connection here if you want to plug in a solar panel. There's two USB-A ports here and a USB-C port, a barrel connection port here, and of course your cigarette lighter type adapter. So that's pretty neat because that expands the possibilities of this battery. It's 100 amp hours. It has the capacity of 1,280 watt hours. You can charge it at a rate of 50 amps and it can be discharged at a rate of 100 amps. So if I were to drop this into my RV right now and just hook up the terminals, I would really be good to go. My RV was made in 2022, so the converter on here accepts lithium iron phosphate batteries. It knows that when I plug in this battery, it's going to change it to give it a higher charging rate so it can fully top this off to 100%. If you have an older RV, maybe pre-2020, you'd have to check your converter or maybe upgrade it so you can charge this fully if you want to install one of these in your RV. But all around, this is a pretty good value. When I first installed a lithium iron phosphate battery in my RV, put a 200 amp hour battery in, and I did a little video on it, and a lot of folks said it was too pricey, and it was pretty pricey. It was over $1,100. Now you can get this battery here for $350 and or $399 with the hub. If you don't really need the hub, Dr. Prepare makes another battery that is $299. This battery in particular has a little graph on top to tell you what the battery status is. Just dropping a battery into your RV is a lot of times the solar controller that came with your RV will not give you an accurate reading of just how much charge your battery has. If I was using the old lead acid battery this came with, and let's say I had the TV running a few other things, the readout on that solar charge controller would say the battery was down to 50%, and it was only running for just a little bit. But then when I shut everything off, it goes back up to 100%. So it was very difficult to know the state of charge of the battery and just how much power was left to it. This has a readout on the top that's going to give you a bar graph, full, 3/4, half, quarter, and empty. That's very helpful, especially if you just want to drop this into an RV. You don't want to worry about having to add a shunt and then a DC power monitoring level for this battery, because you could just go right off of this graph and get a pretty good idea of just how much power you have left with it. There seems to be a bit of common sense that was used when Dr. Prepare designed this battery out. If you look on the side, these terminals are recessed in, so if you wanted to stack more batteries on top, plus there's a little runner here for better cable management, you can run up to 4 of these batteries in parallel if you're looking at using it for a solar system. If you wanted to do it in series, it's not going to work for this model because of the hub that comes with it, because it's not going to be capable of upping the voltage higher than the 12 volts that this hub is rated for. But they do make another battery that is around $299. Doesn't have the hub, but if you're looking to put a battery in series, that would be the way to go. When I first started looking to put a LifePo battery in my RV, I was thinking I was going to have to change the cabling, I was going to have to put a shunt in, I was going to have to put a battery monitor in it, just so I know what the level of this battery is. And now a lot of this stuff is already built in, especially with the Dr. Prepare batteries. So having this hub on here really opens up some scenarios, because this can become a portable power station by giving you these ports up front. Then you can charge your phone, laptop, iPad, run off with a cigarette lighter. So that's pretty neat. In an emergency, you have that option. And also with me, I have several portable power stations, and I usually take some when I go to our property down in southern Ohio. I take some down to Tennessee with us. And if we're going to be out and about and off the grid, this could actually extend those portable power stations' capacity by simply just using this cigarette lighter port here. Take the existing wiring that I have with the power station, so I would be using the DC adapter plug, and then just run it into my power station. And this would triple the capacity of my EcoFlow power station or Blue Eddy power station without having to buy one of their external batteries. Because if you think about it, when you want to buy an extra battery from EcoFlow, that battery is going to be around 65 cents per watt hour. Let's say you spend $3.99 for the hub and this battery, and if you divide that by 1,280 watt hours, we're down around 32 cents per watt hour, 31 cents per watt hour. So it's almost a 50% savings. But when you think about the battery that comes with your RV, it's a lead acid battery. And I looked at the stats on it. It had nowhere where I could find out how many amp hours that battery was. Went online and checked and found out that the lead acid battery that comes with the RV has 64 amp hours. Lead acid batteries really should only be drained to about 50%. If you start going lower than 50%, you're going to damage the battery, and over time you're going to decrease its lifespan. Most of the time their lifespan is only about 2 years to begin with. So you have 100 amp hours. You can take it down to 0. You're not going to do damage to this, charge it back up, and you're good for over 3,000 cycles, which means this could last at least 10 years. So if you buy it off their website, you get a 10-year warranty with this battery, which is pretty much unheard of with a lot of these batteries. So if you're getting 100 amp hours of use, and with my old lead acid battery I was only getting 32, this would triple the capacity right off the bat by just dropping this in. Another thing that I had to do when I put the larger 200 amp hour battery in is I had to replace the battery box in my RV. The 200 amp hour battery was way too big for it. Even though it was a double battery box, it was able to fit 2 lead acid batteries, but the 200 amp hour LifePo battery I put in was too big for it, so I had to buy another battery box, which ended up being around another $150. Just to give you an idea, this is the battery case that came with my RV. This appears that it would fit in there no problem. I don't think you'd have a problem with your battery terminals or anything like that. Here's that height-wise, we're good. So that's one less expense that you would have to worry about if you were going to put this in your RV. So if you're on a budget and you were thinking about going to these type of batteries but you thought it was too expensive, well, maybe just think again. So if I wanted to order another lead acid battery like the one that came with my RV, right now they're going for around $120. If I triple the capacity by just buying a 100 amp hour battery, that would be the equivalence of $360. If I could use it 5 times longer than the lead acid battery, well, then you're way ahead of the game. There are so many times where I've gone on RV forums and people had picked up their RV from wherever they were storing it for the year, getting it ready for their big trip, cleaning it up. A couple days later, they go in there and they find that their battery's dead. They didn't realize that something was draining it. Maybe it was the refrigerator. Maybe it was just a CO detector on it. And they ran it dead. And then they also lowered the capacity of that battery in the future. So it's not giving them as much power as when the battery was new and fresh. Same thing for folks that want to try maybe boondocking for the first time or do a little off-grid camping, or maybe they're just going to a simple parking lot like a Cracker Barrel. Maybe they got the TV on for a little bit, running a few things. It's warm out, have the fan going overnight. And when they wake up in the morning, they have dead batteries. They can't pull their slide in. But again, you ran that lead acid battery down to 0, and it's not going to function as well as it did prior to that. So to me, there's just a lot of unknowns with having a lead acid battery. You're taking a lot of chances with it, and it's not as reliable. And there's not much to think about when you talk about having a lithium iron phosphate battery. Now, over the years, these batteries have gotten much, much better. I saw a few video reviews on this battery from a year and a half ago, and it got dinged because it didn't have any low temperature protection on it. Having these YouTubers out there that dissect these batteries, and if you're into seeing battery guts all over the place, really helps out with the consumer, because then manufacturers look at that, they look at what the YouTubers are doing, that they're really putting their product through the test, and they come back and they improve it. And that's what Dr. Prepare has done. They put better monitoring systems in here, so it has low temperature sensing, high temperature sensing. It has overcharge sensing. So a very good battery monitoring system installed inside of it now. But you can also charge this with solar. You can charge this on the end here with an Anderson connection and connect that to one solar panel, 100 watt solar panel, and charge via here. There is a charge controller built into this little hub. They only allow one 100 panel though. If you want to charge greater than that, well then I would use the 2 terminals. Okay, so when charging with larger wattage solar panels, I'm going to use the terminals instead of these Anderson connections here. One thing you want to do when you hook this up to panels is the first thing you do is you hook your battery up to your solar charge controller, and that gets you started. And then I always plug in the solar panels last. Up to 50 amps of charging on here, so you could do quite a large solar array if you were doing that. I have a set of Renogy panels that are 200 watt. Just to give you an example, it comes with some alligator clips. Really simple to just set it up. So that would be a quicker way if you want to charge it off solar. If you're in a pinch and you just have one solar panel, that's a real easy way to just go through this Anderson connection right here. Other ways of charging this to 100% would be just buy a charger that is designed for lithium iron phosphate batteries. That's how I ended up topping this off when I first got it. Quite a few hours to do it, but it gave it 100%, and it's meant to charge lithium iron phosphate batteries. Just a few stats on the hub, on the outputs. So the USB-C output is a maximum of 30 watts. So that's going to charge a laptop if you're not using it, but if you're using it, you may not be charging it at the same time. It may be taking a little bit of power, but it should be able to charge an iPad, no problem, phone, no problem. The USB-A ports are a maximum of 18 watts, and the DC output is 12 volts at 10 amps. The cigarette lighter output is 12 volts at 10 amps. Total weight of this battery is approximately 28 pounds, just shy of 28 pounds. It's lighter than the lead acid battery that came with my trailer. The design of this battery is IP65 waterproof. Now these straps here are removable. I've kept them in just because of carrying it around. I'll be carrying it over to my pole barn and I'll be bringing it back here. But it's pretty simple to just take this clip off and pull the strap out if you don't want to have the straps on. Underneath is pretty neat. It comes with some brackets, so if you're going to mount this in your RV, let's say I want to mount it in my center compartment down here and I don't want to put it outside in my battery box, it's pretty simple to just put the brackets on and then screw those brackets down into the floor, and it's not going to go anywhere. Pretty convenient to have this and the brackets included. So all in all, pretty unique battery, has some unique features. I like this hub design. I like the idea of having basically giving you the option of some portable power station options, connections here. Now if you say, well, I don't have any AC plugs, if you've been around the block like I have, you probably have a couple old inverters laying around in your garage. Then you could hook up your inverter to the terminals here and get yourself a couple AC plugs off of that. I have a couple spares from many years ago when I used to have it mounted at the bottom underneath the seat of my car, and I still have a couple of those. It's not too difficult in an emergency if we needed to get some AC power that we could just hook those up to the terminals and use them. So I think this is a pretty good battery that takes care of your travel purposes, your outdoor purposes, and that occasional emergency. So I appreciate everybody watching. Hope you enjoyed and subscribe to these videos. Click on that little bell when you want to know when a new one is coming out, and keep an eye on us. Take care, everybody.